I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk about kicking. A little background on me. I did all three phases in high school: kicking, punting, and kickoff, field goal, and punt. Did not have a kicking coach until college, so I got to actually have some old film in here. I'm going to show you bad habits I had. I played 3 years at Limestone College, graduated there. Then I became the kicking coach here at Claxton High School. This is my third year. I'm now the special teams coordinator, quarterback, and recruiting coordinator. I'm also an assistant coach at 101 Coastal, located in Savannah, Georgia. I work alongside Patrick Means, great kicking guy. Let me go. All right, so before I get started, I want to go over some of our 2019 kicking stats. A lot of guys talk about recruiting the hallways. 2 years ago, I had two guys that were soccer players, never kicked a football in their life, and they were seniors last year. Both are going to have the opportunity to play college ball, and I'm going to give you everything I had that I taught them over the years to develop them to what they are today. So one of the kicker was two-time All-State. The punter was honorable mention. We hit almost 80% on field goals this year. We were 75% on touchbacks. Our punt average was second in the state of Georgia, and we had one fair kick or one punt return the whole season. That was in our state playoff game. So we were very successful in flipping the field and not allowing a return, not allowing those big plays to happen. And I'm going to give you everything I taught them. So I'm going to cover field goal drills first. We got 4 drills we do: the lift drill, the no step, the one step, the full step. I'm going to go over the progression for that. I got breakdowns of videos on how we do it. I'm going to give you our kickoff drills, 4 threes and full step kickoffs, how to find the kickoff steps. And I'm going to go over mental preparation because I think that's a key aspect of kicking that's sometimes overlooked. It's going to be big on a practice plan, getting your kicker involved there in practice and not just overlooking him throughout the practice. All right. With every position you teach, if you're a coach, you have a progression. I believe you should have a progression, where I start to what happens when the play happens. So we're going to start on our progression for field goal, and it's the same for kickoff. We're going to start from our finish back. So we're going to start with the absolute finish of our ball. That's our foot-to-ball contact and our follow-through. We're going to start with the finish and work back. So all these drills, you can see I'm starting with the absolute finish of the drill, the finish of the kick, and working back. So the lift drill, I'm going to go over that first. Our foot's going to be in contact with the ball. We're working on follow through. Our no step's going to work that last step to the ball with an easy leg swing. Then we're going to work back to our one step drill, which is going to be our second last step to the ball. And then your full step's going to be your full approach. So that's our progression. We're starting with the absolute last thing that happened and working back. I think it's important to, when you go over these drills with your guys, to have them understand you have to go through these drills to work on each aspect of the kick for field goal. All right. These are my non-negotiables for field goal. Like I said, there's all kinds of different kickers, how they kick. There's all kinds of different ways people teach it. This is what I've been successful with. I'm not saying it's right. It's just what I know and what I've learned. And you have to understand with these, every kicker is different. It's not one size fits all. So kickers are always different. The big thing I'm looking for, ankle locked and knee locked. And what that means is if I'm locking my ankle out to the back of my heel, and my knee is locked out, I should get almost a straight line going down my leg. Knee closed and hips closed. You're going to hear me say hips closed a ton today. I'm really big on wherever my hips are after I finish my kick is where my ball is going to go. It's kind of like I work with quarterbacks too, with the shoulders. Our shoulders have to be pointed to our target. Same thing with our hips. So if I say hips closed, that means my hips are pointed to my target at contact. And that goes along with the hip square to target at contact. When I'm kicking the ball, when my foot is in contact with the ball, my hips have to be pointing to the target in order for me to get the accuracy to where I'm trying to finish to. You'll hear me say big chest and chest up. This is a huge emphasis on field goals and kickoffs. It's important to stay upright when we kick. That's going to allow us to get our body to finish downfield. And you'll hear me say counter arm a lot. Our counter arm is the arm opposite to our kicking leg. So if I'm a right-footed kicker, it's going to be my left arm. If I'm a left-footed kicker, it's going to be my right arm. We want that arm to come straight out on contact and come straight across our chest. We don't want it to divvy down or come up some because that's going to throw off our momentum finishing downfield. On field goal, we have to attack our plant step. And we always say train tracks to the plant step because train tracks run straight, okay? So if we're on train tracks to the plant step, we're on a straight line to our plant, and we're not attacking the ball because in order for us to get our hips lined up at ball contact, we have to attack that plant step. And lastly, this is kind of the harder one to teach your guys is if they're not used to doing it, your plant foot. So if if I'm a right-footed kicker, that's going to be my left foot because I'm kicking with my right. That right foot after contact should skip and allow my body to finish downfield. That's going to allow me to really get my hips and my body into my kick and not just use so much of my leg. All right, we got dry kicks. This is an overlooked part of our game as far as kicking goes. I emphasize this more than anything. Dry kicks are the most important part of drill work. So what a dry kick is I'm doing the drill without a ball. And I have my guys do a minimum 10 dry reps before each drill. Sometimes it's more, depending on the actual drill and depending on their development. My more experienced guys, I'll have them hit 10. They've done the drill for years. They know what they're doing. The younger guys, I'm going to rep them more, okay? The reason we do a dry kick instead of just going out and kicking the ball is it allows me to work on my form. So if I'm doing a dry kick, it's building my muscle memory of what each motion should feel like. And if I'm telling somebody to work on something, it allows them to work on it without focusing on kicking a ball hard. That's what I'm looking for when I'm talking about dry kicks. I got an example right here. All right, let me pause that. So dry kick, this is our no-step drill, and I'll go over the drill in a second, but you'll just watch the video. I'll slow it down so it's not choppy. He's not kicking the ball. He's lined up next to the ball. He's being nice and easy and smooth, working on his form, okay? This is building up his muscle memory for when he actually goes and kicks the ball. It's very important to do, I'm telling you. The kids hate doing it because it's extra work. They see, oh, I don't get to kick the ball. It's not helping me. But this is the biggest part of their development is doing these dry kicks every single day. It's huge to rep. All right, ball contact. So on ball contact, if you look down on your foot, if I'm a right-footed kicker, there's a bone running down the inside of my foot towards my big toe. That's where we're trying to hit the ball on our foot, okay? And when I say ankle locked and turned over, his ankle is completely locked out. As you can see right here, it's completely locked out. And that bone on our foot is where we're trying to hit the ball. Now, typically the spot on the foot we're trying to hit it on that bone is around the second lace of the cleat, okay? Now, every cleat's different, obviously. We want to hit it towards the upper part of our foot. We don't want to hit it up on our ankle, though, because that's not going to give us solid contact. And if we hit it too low, it's going to come off our toe. And what that means by coming off our toe is we're hitting it actually on our big toe instead of on that hard bone on our foot. Another thing I talk about, ball contact. So he has his ankle locked out. We tell our guys to depress the toe into the ground. So what that means is he's trying to push his toe into the ground. That's going to keep his toe back and not coming forward. Because if that toe is coming forward and the toe is hitting the ball before our foot, it's going to throw off our contact. Now, as far as the ball goes, if you can see my camera, so I have a football, right? Well, this is how I teach the sweet spot of a football for field goal, okay? If I take the football and I cut it in half, so I'm splitting it into two halves right here, all right? I'm going to take the bottom half of the football, this bottom portion here, I'm going to cut that in half, okay? So I should be landing somewhere right in here, okay? And about an inch below that, or about a half inch below that, is right where the sweet spot of the ball is. So we're trying to hit that hard part of our foot on that part of the ball, and it's going to give a distinctive sound. It's kind of like, you know, I've heard of people say when receivers catch the ball, there's this distinctive sound when they have their hands right. It's the same thing for football, same thing with baseball. When you hit a good ball, there's a distinctive sound you'll hear. But we're trying to hit that hard part of our foot on that sweet spot of the ball. That's very important to work on ball contact. Remember, ankle locked, knee locked, and we want that toe depressed into the ground. If anybody has any questions, stop me anytime, Coach. All right, the first drill we're going to go through is the lift drill. I haven't seen this drill a lot around the country when I work with other kickers. It's kind of one I've learned from Patrick Means with one-on-one kicking. I think it's a great drill. The emphasis on this drill is I'm working height on the football. We're working on getting our height right and working on our finish, okay? This is going to teach your guys to learn how to use their hips. It's very important that they understand how their hip motion is going to affect their kicking, all right? The setup is going to be 3 yards from the crossbar. So if I'm at the field goal post, you know, the crossbar, I'm going to take 3.5 yards from that crossbar, and I'm going to set up there. Our foot needs to be in contact with the ball. As you can see right here, his foot is already up in contact with the ball. His ankle and knee are locked and closed. All right, so if I'm looking at this right here, his ankle is completely locked out. His leg is almost in a straight line as much as he can go, okay? His ankle mobility, it differs between your athletes. His is pretty flexible. He's almost in a straight line. So his ankle is locked. His knee is completely locked out as well. That's going to allow him to get quad activation in his leg. That's going to allow him to use his leg muscles, okay? And when I say his knee is closed, so his knee is pointing to his target forward, it's not open, Because if his knee is open, his foot is going to be facing me instead of towards his target. That's a big thing to look for when you see bad contact on the ball. His hips are square. When I say hip square or closed, that means they're pointing to his target and they're pointing to the sky. The big emphasis on this drill is going to be the height. That's what we're looking for in this. We're getting our hips up and through the ball. A lot of guys that struggle with height, this drill is very hard for them because they're not used to finishing up. They're used to finishing out. So this is an excellent drill to work on that height. His counter arm is going to be his left arm over here. You can't see it in this picture. I got another picture. I want it straight out at 90 degrees. Okay, we don't want it high because it's going to make my shoulder dip. If I don't want it low, I'm coming up through the ball. I want it straight out, coming straight across the chest at contact. Once again, we're working on an upward finish. It's very important that he finishes up and not out. That's not the point of this drill. The goal of this drill is to get 3.5 yards from the crossbar and get the ball up to hit the crossbar on contact. Okay. All right. So here's a diagram of what I got right here. Looking at his shoulders. His shoulders are pretty square. I'd like to see that right shoulder a little higher. It's natural to have a slight lean to it. Okay. His counter arm, this arm right here, the arm opposite to the kicking leg, is directly out at 90 degrees. That's a big thing there because you'll see a lot of young kickers, especially your guys that are playing soccer, they do this thing we call the windmill. So their arms going like this at contact instead of coming straight out and straight across. That's going to throw off their hips at contact. All right, in the picture on the right, you can see his hips. If I'm looking at his hips right here, everything's pointing up to the sky. Now, a big thing I teach on that is in order for me to get my hips forward and pointing up, I tell them it's like squeezing their butt together. So that's really going to get my hip and glute activation, and it's going to get it up and through the ball, right? And once again, his knee is closed to his target. His foot's not too flat, okay? Now, once again, these are two different kickers. His foot's a little more turned over than his. That's their preference. Like I said, everybody's a little different on that. But overall, the knees are locked, the ankles are locked out, and hips are pointing to the sky. All right, here's a couple of videos of it. So the one on the left, you're going to see he's going to kick. His ball is going to go slightly off to the right. Once again, that's because his hips are slightly open. So instead of the ball going completely straight, it's going to be slightly open because his hips are not facing his target at contact. But overall, he does a good job of it. Let me play it slow for you guys. He gets his foot up, takes his kicking foot. He's got his plant foot in place. His plant foot is going to be that left foot right there. He takes his kicking foot, lines it up on the ball. He's right up to the ball at contact. He's got his left arm already starting out, and he's getting a nice swing, but everything's finishing up. As you can see, he's going up to the sky. He's literally getting vertical in contact. That's what I'm looking for on this drill. I want to get the ball up. When your guys first start doing this drill, if they've never done it, this is the hardest drill to do. They'll probably get the ball 2 inches off the ground, honestly. So big thing here, I'm finishing up and getting downfield. You can see his release. His body is taking him downfield. That's huge on this drill. That's what we're looking for. All right. Oops. Go back. All right, and here's the side view. So right here, he brings his foot, ankle lock, knee lock. Foot's already in contact with the ball. His chin is tucked. As you can see, he's looking down at the ball. Now you're going to see on contact, his plant foot, which is his left foot, not his kicking foot, it's going to pick up and land almost in the same spot. We're kind of looking more to get downfield. But overall, he does a good job getting vertical and getting his hips up on this ball right here. Boom. See, everything going up. Does a good job getting downfield. All right. Here's another video. All right, so he's, like I said, we're in quarantine, so we can't get on the football field, so we got a soccer goal. Got to improvise. Foot's already in contact with the ball. Hips are shooting up and forward. Chest is down. Boom. Get nice and through the ball. Okay, hit the post. That's what I'm looking for right there. I'd like it to come a little more straight. It's harder for these guys here to close their hip because they have no momentum going to the ball. It's just something to work at. Not everyone's going to be perfect. But it's a good example. He's shooting straight up and getting downfield. You can see his momentum's carrying him downfield. All right. So the one on the right is an old video of the kid I just showed. This is probably from when he first started kicking. I'm going to draw out what's wrong with it. This is what you're not looking for in this drill. So you're going to see his plant foot, which is that left foot closest to you. It's going to finish backwards, okay? His knee is going to bend on contact. That's not what we're looking for. He's got to keep that knee locked out and staying straight up. That's going to allow him to get downfield and not finish back. So what he does when he sits on that knee, it pushes his butt out, which is going to make his hips shoot backwards instead of forward, because we want our hips to shoot up and through the ball. not backwards, okay? He's going to get a little crunch, so you'll see his shoulder. He's going to come downward instead of upward, and that's honestly what is shooting him back. So his chest is coming down, butt's poking out, knees dropping, and he's finishing back. This is what we're not looking for in this drill. So I'll play it slow. Right here, see, we got the knee bend right there. The butt's already back. You can see right here he's forward, not as forward as we need him to be, but his butt is back. All he's using right now is his legs. That's not what we're looking for in this drill. The arm is coming downward as opposed to coming straight across. So now we got to arch back, chest is down, and you can see he's clearly finishing backwards instead of forward. That's not what you're looking for in this drill. It's good teaching tape right there. All right, and then the video on the left is the one I just showed you. All right. So you'll see right here, his hips are already forward, pointing to the sky, and he is getting downfield. Once again, I'll play that one more time. Finishing backwards. That's not what we're looking for. That's some things to look for, especially those hips coming back. What I'll do is, if I got a kid that's finishing backwards a lot, I'll put my palm about an inch, about that far from his butt. That way when he shoots back, he's hitting my palm. That way he can feel himself finishing back, because a lot of the guys can't feel it initially if they haven't done this drill. All right, the next drill I'm going to talk about is our no-step drill. So our no-step drill is emulating we've actually planted and we're getting a leg swing this time. There's not foot in contact with the ball. So our back foot is slightly wider than shoulder width. A big thing on this is we don't want that back foot to get too wide, because if it's getting too wide, we're emphasizing a lunge to the ball. With anything, if you get too wide or too long, you lose your balance. It's hard to keep balance while you're lunging. And it also forces your momentum to go down instead of up and through. So we just want it a little wider than shoulder width. Like I said, your kids are going to be different depending on their size and their leg swing. We want the plant foot heel. So this is the heel of the plant foot to split the kicking foot in half. So this heel right here is splitting this foot in half. That's where I tell them to line it up. What I don't want, and a lot of guys like to do, they take this kicking foot, they're going to bring it back here. So then they have to swing. When they open up and go to swing, they have to come across first and then forward. But if we keep it right here, about split with the kicking foot, it's going to allow him to come straight back and through the ball nice and easy. Coaching points, same thing as before. On all these drills, your ankle and knee have to be locked and closed. Once again, we want that straight line down our kicking leg. And we want our knee closed to our target. We don't want that knee facing out instead of forward to our target. So we want it facing straight. And with your younger guys that haven't done that before, it's an uncomfortable position. So that's something they're going to have to work on through flexibility training and a bunch of other stuff. On this one, I'm emphasizing a natural leg swing. The goal of this drill is not to kick the crap out the ball. I'm working on contact and a nice, easy leg swing getting downfield. A lot of guys, they'll try to kick the crap out the ball, and that's not what the drill's about. I want them to get a nice, easy swing to get their contact correct and get their body finishing downfield. We're not trying to hit 40-yard no steps. There's no point of that. Closed hips on contact. Once again, everything I emphasize, your hips have to be closed to your target. And we want to finish to that target. And when we pick a target, we have to actually point at something. We can't just look at the field goal post and say, okay, I'm aiming right down the middle. No, find something to pick at in the background, whether it be a tree, a scoreboard, whatever it needs to be. And lastly, I tell them to be smooth on this because, like I said, we're not trying to kick the ball hard. I want them to be nice and smooth to work on that nice rhythm and getting through the ball. So once again, right here on the left, he's taking his plant foot and splitting his kicking foot in half. And his plant foot is also pointing directly to his target. We don't want it inverted or outverted because that's going to cause our leg swing to either wrap or pull us off to the side. We want to be facing everything to our target. All right, here's an example of a dry kick. The same video I showed you earlier of the no-step drill. So we got right here, his foot is splitting this foot in half. He's facing his target. He's not kicking the ball here. This is how he's going to work on his form. He's going to be nice and smooth. Nice natural leg swing. Gets his leg nice and high. I'd like to see this counter arm right here a little lower, but he does a good job getting his kicking leg. See that stretch right there? That's what we're looking for. The higher he can get that kicking leg, the more accuracy he's going to have on his full step. In the order for him to get that nice skip, he's got to get his leg high. Well, your younger guys, when they go to kick, they're not going to be used to having that plant foot skip downfield. So a good way to fix that is to have them get a high leg swing because it forces your body to allow it to go downfield. And that's what I'm looking for on this. So I'll play it one more time, full speed. He's nice and smooth. Not trying to kick the ball hard, just trying to work on that form. All right, here's the back view of it. Another dry kick just to work on being smooth. Natural leg swing. This is his natural leg swing. He's not trying to kick the ball hard. Ankle is locked at contact. He's getting a nice high swing. And you can see his momentum. He's way downfield. He's skipping almost a half yard. That's what I'm looking for. That's showing me that his hips and his body is carrying him downfield. And he's getting that high leg swing, which means he's finishing up. So he's doing a good job on this drill right here. That's what you're looking for, those hips and that body getting downfield. That way we're not kicking with just leg. All right, another teaching tape on the right. Get my drawing tool out. All right, so there's multiple things wrong with this video on the right. Like I said, this is when he first started kicking, so this is all part of the training, okay? The first thing I'm looking at here, you'll see on the video when I play it, his shoulders are going to crunch, which means his chest is coming down instead of staying up through contact. His plant foot, you can't see it right here, but it's going to stay in the same spot the whole time. It's not going to move. It's going to go from here to here. It's going to jump in the same spot. That's not allowing him to get downfield. His chest coming down. If my chest comes down, it's naturally going to make my butt poke out, which means my hips are back. So we got bad hips back. And then it's going to force him not to get his body downfield. So he's not doing a good job here. He hits the ball well contact-wise off his kicking foot, but he's using all leg right now. He's not using any of his body. So he's never going to generate his full power just using that leg. He's got to get his hips and his body through the ball, and it adds tremendous power. Go ahead and play it. So right here, you can see the chest is down right there. The chest is down, which forces the butt to come back. And he's also swinging across instead of through the ball, okay? And you'll see that plant foot, it's jumping and hitting in the same spot. That's not what we're looking for in this. You can see his momentum. He's literally falling back as he kicks. So this ball right here is kicked with all leg. There's no body into it. And when the guys aren't kicking with they're just kicking with their leg and not their body, it's hard for them to get consistent because it depends on how their body motions every time. Once again, this is the same video I just showed a minute ago. You'll be able to see he's using his body on this one, getting downfield, nice and easy, good high swing, getting through the ball. There's no chest down. Chest is up at contact. He's getting through the ball. That's what I'm looking for on this. All right, here's the full drill with the ball. So as you can see right here already, his chest is already up. That's why I tell him big chest. It's like I'm trying to bench almost, and I'm pinching my shoulders together. So I want big chest at the ball. Counter arm comes out straight. It's coming across. I'd like to see him get a little, like I said, it's a little high and coming down. I'd like to see it more coming across. But he does a good job. You can see his plant foot right here. As soon as he makes contact, it's getting downfield to his target, and he's finishing through. That's what we're looking for in that drill. All right, the next drill, one step. Is there any questions so far?
We're good right now, Coach.
Okay. All right, the next drill we're working on is our one-step drill. So our one-step drill is going to work on our second to last step to the ball. Like I said, our progression is always with our finish back. So we're working at our absolute finish to the ball and going back. Our setup's going to be two steps vertical, straight back, one step to the left for a right-footed kicker. If it's a left-footed kicker, it's going to be the opposite. And we're looking for the kicking foot. In this case, it'd be the right foot in front of the left foot. So as you can see right here, his kicking foot is already in place. His left foot is behind it. All right. A big emphasis on this drill, we don't want to get our guys too far from the ball because, once again, if I have a long lunge to the ball, it's going to kill my power when I go to kick. Because if I'm lunging, it's forcing my momentum to go down instead of up and through the ball. So essentially, I'm kicking to the ball and not through the ball. All right. On field goal, we're going to attack plant. So we're attacking our plant step, not the ball. So when he steps, he's coming here and not to the ball. Big chest as always. The thing that guys like to do on this drill is we're driving off the kicking foot and stepping with the plant foot. So he's not moving this foot. He's not taking a step with this foot. He's putting his weight on this foot and stepping with this one to his plant step. I tell our guys when they get in their full stance, I like 60-40, 60 on the front foot, 40 on the back foot, just to give them a nice balanced stance. All right, so he does a good job on this one. So right here, I'm going to point out, we're watching that right foot, okay? You're going to see him move his weight to that foot when he goes to kick, but he is not stepping with it. We do not want to step with that right foot because we're taking 3 steps to the ball on our full step kickoffs. So if we take an extra step with that right foot, it's going to cause us to add an extra step in our full steps. So it's not natural. So I want him to transfer his weight to this foot, and then we're stepping with this foot to the ball. So right here, there's the transfer of the weight. No step though. See, nothing. There's no step taken. He's getting through the ball. Does a good job finishing his hips, getting through the ball. Gets a great height on the ball. The big coaching point, like I said, we want to keep chest up. You can see I already got him. He's his big thing when he started kicking, he would bring his chest down because he's a soccer player. He's already got his big chest before he starts. He's driving off that right foot, not stepping with it, getting nice and through the ball. Good skip downfield, finishing to his target. All right, another video, same drill. Putting our weight on that front foot, but not stepping, getting to our plant step. So he's stepping right to his plant step right there. He's not attacking the ball. That's going to throw off his rhythm. Does a good job getting downfield. So our one step is going to emulate. So when we take our full steps, we take a left step, a right step, and a left step. So we've already taken our right step on this drill, and we're driving to getting our last step to the ball. That's the emphasis on this drill. Staying nice and square. Once again, I'm not trying to kill the ball on this, not trying to get a ton of distance, more focused on form and contact. All right, next we got the full step. This is going to be your full approach to the ball. So your kickers, this is going to be their game situation from field goal step. All right. They're going to take 3 steps back. So I'm taking, if he lines up on the ball, he's going to take 3 steps back. Now these steps, once again, we want to stay short and closed and not get too long. When we get too long, that's when we have issues. Got a question, Coach?
Yes, sir. On the start of the one-step drill, are the feet level or staggered beforehand?
Are the feet level or let me go back. Are you saying like repeat the question one more time?
On the start of the one-step drill,
Okay.
how are the kickers' feet? Like, how are they supposed to start? Are they supposed to start in a staggered stance or I guess an even base?
Okay, yeah, good question. So we want the right foot forward because we're driving off of that foot. We want the left foot staggered off to the left, but we don't want it directly behind it because we want to keep everything natural. And you'll see on the full step approach here in a minute, we don't want it behind because when you walk, naturally you walk with one foot next to the other. We're not allowing that foot to get behind because it's going to cause a longer step to the ball. I hope that answers the question. All right. On the full step, once again, 3 steps back, 2 steps to the left. We're not trying to get too long on these steps. I'd like just small, easy steps. This kid I got's 5'9", so he's pretty close to the ball. If you have a 6'4" kicker and you're lucky enough to have one that big, he's going to be a little bigger, obviously, because he's taller. The big thing on this one is we want the left foot in front of the right foot because our left foot's going to be our first step on our jab. But we don't want the right foot to get behind this because, once again, our natural walking motion or running motion is side by side, not one behind the other. So when we take that jab step with this left foot, we want this right foot to be coming. So if I take – a lot of guys teach it differently. This is how I teach it. If that right foot is behind it, he's got to take a longer step right here, which is going to cause to throw him off each time. Coaching points, we're attacking plant. So he is on train tracks to this spot right here. That's the emphasis right there. Rhythm. I'm really big on rhythm on this because I see a lot of guys, especially in games, they're not comfortable with their snapper and holder. So they like to take their jab step, stop almost, and kill their momentum, and then go 1, 2. So I emphasize the rhythm 1, 2, 3. We're getting a nice build up to the ball. Because if we stop on that jab step, we've now lost our momentum. And that's the purpose of that step, is to get us going, to be consistent, to build up that power to the ball. Once again, the steps are jab step, second step, plant step. And we say train tracks, which means straight line to the ball. So he's staying on these train tracks the whole time. He's not going to vary and come out here and loop in. We're not going to come out wide and come in, because if we stay on these train tracks the whole time, it's going to make us more consistent in our steps. And if we're hitting our plant spot where it's supposed to be every single time, it's going to make us more consistent as a kicker. All right. So I kind of mapped out what the step should look like. Your jab step is typically going to be between 6 to 8 inches. I don't really measure it, but you don't want to see the guys taking a huge step on their jab. Typically, they like to do that when they're either tired, so they've overkicked, or they're trying to hit a long field goal. So, if they're 50 and in range and they're trying to hit a 55-yarder, they love to take the step longer because they feel like they have to get more out the ball. But we're trying to get them to take a small jab just to get them going. And remember, the weight in this stance is 60-40. I don't want too much weight on the front foot because then it's going to cause that step to get long. The big thing on the second step is it can't be too choppy, because if we take that second step short somewhere in here, it's going to cause me to have a long lunge to the ball. When I have a long lunge to the ball, I'm not balanced, and it's going to cause me to sit on contact. And when I sit on contact, I can't finish downfield. So we want to make sure your kicker is getting depth on his second step. If you see him having a long lunge to the ball, typically his second step is short, or his steps 3 steps back to the left are long. So that's something you'll have to figure out. You'll have to watch it. If you see him really choppy in here, then you know that, okay, he's got a length in his second step. But if his second step's long and he's still lunging, that means he's too far from the ball initially. All right, so here's a good example of one. You're going to see him. He's going to start with his left foot, take a small jab, second step, and then his plant step. And every time he's kicking, he's working right to this spot the whole time, his plant step. He's not attacking the ball. On field goal, we attack plant, train tracks to the plant. This kid was a soccer kid, so it was kind of natural for him to try to get a loop like he's kicking a free kick. I had to break him with that. And he's had a lot of success since. So he's coming off his left foot. His stance is 60-40. He's already got his chest up, and I like that because he's one that struggled with crunching a lot. All right, so he's taking a jab step, not a big step at all. Jab step. He gains depth on his right step, so it's not short. If it was short, it'd be right in here, and he'd be too choppy. Gets good depth on his second step, and he's nice and upright on contact, okay? So you see right here, he's still upright. If his jab was too long, that knee would be bent like I showed earlier, but he does a good job getting through the ball, getting his body downfield, and he hits a great ball right here. I'll play it one more time, full speed. Does a great job getting through the ball. That's a big thing. He's getting his hips and his body downfield, but everything is up first and then out. All right, here's another one on a live snap and hold. Typically when our guys are doing snap and holds, I have the kicker. He's going to watch the hand of the holder. When that hand comes up, he needs to leave. So right here, he picks the hand up to get receive the snap. Kicker's moving. Everything's small. Nice and easy through the ball, gets the hips downfield. I'd like to see the shoulders right here at contact. The shoulders are a little dipped. I'd like to see the shoulders more square, but he does a good job getting his ball downfield. Like I said, that's a 47-yard field goal, so that's a big thing, and I'll go over it with the mental preparation. You can't have your guys kick differently depending on the distance. Every ball's got to be the same. All right, this is actually from a video of me in college. So like I said, I didn't have a kicking coach until I got to college, so I struggled a lot, and you can see how bad my form was. So this is what you're looking for if your kicker is struggling kicking. He's very inconsistent. One ball to the right, one ball to the left. This is what you're looking for. So the first thing I'm looking at right here is the crunch. As you can see, shoulders are completely down at contact. His back is completely arched right here. There's absolutely no way you can finish downfield and get height on the ball with your chest down. And it's also really bad for their back. So if his chest is down, he's probably not getting height on the ball, and you can see his hips are back. So right now, this is all leg kicking the ball. And this ball was actually not a good ball because of all these reasons right here. All right, right here on the second one, this foot, the left foot right here is not on the ground, okay? It's working off of this foot. So you see how long that lunge is. That lunge is going to leave him to be off balanced at contact, okay? That's going to cause his momentum to go down instead of through the ball. So when you talk to your guys, you're going to make sure to emphasize, I'm kicking through the ball to my target, not down to the ball. A lot of guys like to punch. That's not what we're looking for. That's why you got to get that high leg finish through the ball to allow him to get downfield. And because of this lunge right here, that long step, it causes him to sit right here. So you can see knees pretty bent right there, which is causing his momentum to finish downward to the ball instead of to his target. Those are some things to look for. Well, if you see your guy struggling or you have a new kicker, I mean, the crunch and the sit is probably the biggest thing, but the sit and the crunch is oftentimes caused by the lunge. All right. I talked about hips open earlier. So hips closed is when my hips are facing the target at contact. That allows me to finish my body through the ball and get to my target, okay? If the hips are open at contact, you're going to see this right here. So you can see his target is right here, obviously down the middle of the pipes, but his hips are pointing here. And typically that happens due to the chest being down or the knee is open. And when I say the knee is open, you could look really at this last picture on the right. You can see his knee is not closed. His knee is not facing his target. His, his, uh, his knee is open towards the sideline here, and that's going to cause his hips to open. The hips are also back as well. So when I say hips open, this is what I'm talking about. Typically, when you get a guy who's pushing the ball to the right, this is usually what's happening. It's either coming off of his toe, which means his toe's not depressed in the ground, or his hips are open. So if you see the ball floating to the right a lot, getting fast rotation, losing a lot of power, it's typically his hips are open. And what I do to fix that is I'll have him go back to that no step drill or the lift drill, the first two drills we did, and that's going to allow them to train their hips. Once they can feel their hips being back, they'll know what they did at contact. So once you train your guys, okay, your hips are open and they start feeling it, they can actually teach themselves and say, okay, my hips were open. This is what I got to do. But initially, when they don't know what they're doing, you're going to have to really get on to them about that. All right. Before I get into kickoff, we got any questions, Coach? We good?
Good right now, Coach.
All right. Our progression for kickoff is the same as field goal. So we're working our finish back. Our finish is going to be on our kickoff. We only have two drills that we do. We call it 4-3s, which is going to be our last 3 steps on our kickoff, and then our full step kickoff approach. And I'm going to show you how to find your kicker's steps based on his approach. All right, my non-negotiables on kickoff, we have to get a hurdle. So when he kicks the ball, he needs to get vertical off that left foot, driving up, almost like he's jumping, okay? But that knee has to stay locked down on the kicking leg. So he's got to get vertical first and not out. The problem is a lot of young guys, what they'll do is they try to kick the ball as far as they can, but they're kicking it on a line instead of getting height on the ball. And if you're a special teams coach and your kid's not getting a touchback, or when he gets to college, he's not getting height on the ball, you can't cover that. So it's big to get vertical first. It's going to take some distance off the ball, but it's going to allow them to get height on it. After he jumps and he gets his hurdle, he's going to land on his kicking leg. So remember, on field goal, we're getting a nice skip through on our plant step. On kickoff, we're landing on our kicking leg. It's huge. They have to land on their kicking leg because that allows them to jump off that left foot. If they're just skipping with that left foot, he's not jumping and getting his hurdle. And that's not allowing his body to truly get downfield. Remember, on kickoff, we're getting somewhere between 8, 10, 12 steps. So we got to get that momentum going downfield and really use our contact. We want our hips square at contact. Same thing. If I'm kicking deep left, that's where my hips got to be when I kick the ball. And on kickoff, it allows me to finish more. Rhythm, same thing as a field goal. We got to get a constant build up to the ball. If you see guys losing power right when they get to the ball, typically it's from a lunge, but we don't want them to slow their momentum down anywhere in their approach because that's going to kill their power going to the ball. And I always start their approach with 3 walking steps. That's going to get them going consistently. It's going to get them going under control. People teach it differently. That's just what I've been taught, and I see how it works because it keeps your guys under control to start their kick. And they then, after those 3 walking steps, they build into their nice jog to the ball. All right, the first drill we do on kickoff is called 4-3s. Okay, it's simply 4 steps back, 3 steps to the side, depending on the kicker. If it's a right-footed kicker, he's going to go to the left. Left-footed kicker, he's going to go to the right. We want the right foot in front of the left. So as you can see in the picture right here, his right foot is forward. The left foot is staggered off to the side, not behind it. The difference on kickoff and field goal, the main coaching point is on kickoff, he is attacking the ball. So he's going to be on train tracks to the ball, not to his plant step. On kickoff, our plant step is going to be slightly closer because we have a running start going to the ball. So we're allowing ourselves to really finish our body downfield. And that's where that hurdle comes into play. Once again, the rhythm has to be a consistent build-up to the ball. We're taking 4 steps on this one. You'll take a jab and then two steps and then your plant. So I want a good rhythm build up to the ball. 1, 2, 3, 4. Each step is building off of each other to generate more power, not pausing on your jab. So they'll take a jab, pause, and then go 1, 2, 3. I've already killed some of my momentum going to the ball. Why am I starting deep if I'm just going to take a step and lose all my power? So we're going to jab with the right foot, take 3 steps to the ball to get us to our plant. And we're on train tracks. We're on a straight line to the ball. This is the big thing. If you recruit soccer players to kick at your school or you're at the college level and you have a guy with a side swing, they love to get here and loop out and come back in because it's just like a free kick. That's the biggest thing I've seen with working with soccer players, guys that just have been doing that their whole life and hadn't kicked a football. They love to kick it like a free kick. So you got to emphasize, no, you have to be on a straight line to the ball. So here's an example of what the steps I'm looking for. So he's going to take his right foot. He's going to take a small jab like always. Smaller second step, bigger third step, and that last plant step is going to be his biggest step. But once again, we don't want it to be too big because if it gets too big, he's going to lose his power. Now you can see right here, I have a bag. It's our ball bag in front of the ball. A good drill to work on that hurdle. If you have your guy that's just kicking and he's falling off to the side or he's not getting up and through the ball, we'll take a dummy or a ball bag or a sandbag. It doesn't matter what you use. Put it in front of the ball. Make him get over that obstacle, okay? When he gets over that obstacle, it's going to force him to get over through the ball and work on his hurdle. Now, another thing I'll do is I'll come 45 degrees off this tee right here, and I'll do cones. And I didn't have cones on this day because he was doing a good job finishing straight, but he just wasn't getting his hurdle. So I'll take cones, align them 45 degrees off of the kicking tee, and those cones are used for making him finish inside of those cones. If he's finishing inside of the cones, he's getting his body downfield more, not off to the side. If he's landing on the cones or finishing outside, that means he's wrapping too much and he's trying to kick across his body instead of through the ball. Like I said, you have guys, soccer guys typically have a side swing, so they're naturally going to land somewhere close to here. But your guys that weren't soccer players or more athletic, they're going to land more straight like this. All right, here's a couple of videos of a kid I got that does a good job. Now his hurdle, I'd like it to be a little better, and he's one I've been working with on his hurdle because he's one that just tried to drive the ball. But you can see right here on the video, he's going to start with his right foot. It's going to step, and then he's going to take 3 steps to the ball, and he gets his body through the ball to his target. But his line is going directly to the ball. He's not going to his plant step. So I'll play the video. Small jab. 1, 2, 3. Like I said, I'd like his hurdle to get up and out a little more, but he does a good job getting through the ball. You can see everything's going downfield. Gets a good kick on the ball. If he gets a more of an upward hurdle, so right here, if he would get up more, he's going to have more height on his ball, but he's coming a long way from where he was a couple months ago. Here's a different view of it. Jab step, 1, 2, 3. Nice and vertical through the ball. You can see his whole body's getting downfield. He's forcing himself to run downfield. That's a good thing to look for, okay? I just like, on this kid, I'd like to see his vertical get up more because if we're finishing up, our momentum coming from a running start is going to carry us out. All right, in the full step kickoff approach, the setup's going to depend on the steps of the kicker. The next slide, I'll show you how to get those steps. That's a common question I have. How do I figure out where my guy's supposed to be? I'll show you how to do that in a second. Coaching points. Remember, on kickoff, we're attacking ball. On field goal, we're attacking plant. That's the 2 big differentiations between the 2. The rhythm, build up to the ball. He's going to start with 3 walking steps no matter what his approach is. If his steps are 10 back, 6 to the left, 11 back, 5, he's going to start with 3 walking steps to get him going. That's going to give him a nice slow momentum going into his jog. So after he takes those 3 walking steps, he's going to get a nice jog and build up to the ball as he goes. So each step is going to increase in distance. He wants to be on train tracks to the ball. So he's on a straight line to the ball. I've had a lot of issues, like I said, with soccer players. They try to kick it like a free kick. If you see him looping out, you have to set cones up to keep him on a straight line. The big thing on the hurdle is, once again, we have to get vertical first. So you want him to hurdle up, and then his momentum is naturally going to carry him out. That's what we're looking for because that's going to give him initial height on the ball, and then the momentum coming from the long start is going to carry him out more, which is going to get him more distance on his kickoff. All right, finding the kickoff steps. This is a big question that I get a lot with coaches. So I'm going to start with the kickoff tee. So let's say I got the kickoff tee right here. As the coach, I'm going to get on a 45-degree angle. I'm going to take about 12 steps back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the kicker to start at the kickoff tee. I'm going to make sure he takes 3 walking steps, 1, 2, 3, and then he's going to get a nice jog, and wherever he feels comfortable is where he's going to kick. After he does it a few times, I'm going to mark the spot each time. So if he stops right here one time, then right here, I'm going to tell him to keep going because we'll have to get a consistent spot. So once he hits close to the same spot, probably 3 times in a row, you'll then mark that spot For example, on the drawing to the left, I marked right here. So let's say he hit here 3 times in a row. He's going to then start from that position, walk to the side, count his steps until he gets vertical with the tee, and then he's going to take his steps to the ball. So, for example, on this one, it would be 10 steps back, 6 to the left. That's the way we teach it. Just the big thing on this is guys like to rush into it. They don't take those 3 walking steps. Make sure he takes those walking steps. That's a huge point because that's going to give him a consistent approach. All right, here's a good video of a nice approach to the ball. So you're going to get 3 walking steps, 1, 2, 3, and then there's the build up to the ball. Each step's getting a little bigger each time, but that last step is not too long to where my momentum's coming down, and you'll be able to see that. If the momentum was coming down, he's not going to get a big hurdle downfield. So you can see here, there's a huge hurdle coming up. I'm completely off the ground in this photo right here, okay? And I'm coming up, and then I'm getting out right here. That's going to allow him to get that initial height on the ball. You can see how high the ball comes out right off the foot. It's going up, and then the momentum carrying me out is going to allow me to get that distance on the ball. So that's a big thing with your guys is to have them start coming vertical and then go out. So once again, 3 walking steps to get it going. 1, 2, 3. And then it's a constant build up to the ball after that, like a jog. Some guys are going to be faster. Some guys are going to be slower. If you got a kid that's kicking very inconsistently, I'd recommend slowing him down. This clip right here, this is early in the season. This is early in the season, so we slowed his approach down so we could get a more consistent ball. He was putting touchbacks pretty consistently, so we didn't need him to get a bunch of power behind the ball. So see, he checks with the team left and right. And make sure whatever he does, so if he's checking with the left and the right, he has to do that same thing every single time because that's going to throw off his rhythm too. That's part of the mental preparation, doing the same thing every single time. He's taking 3 walking steps, 1, 2, 3. He's getting a nice build up to the ball. His, like I said, his was pretty slow. We slowed him down so he could get more consistent. It's nice and threw the ball on the kickoff. And we'll end up hitting it. He lands this one about right at the back of the end zone. All right. The last thing I'm going to cover today. Coach, we got any questions right now before I get started? We're good? All right. So the mental preparation, I think this is a huge part of kicking that's overlooked. So people wonder, why is my kicker missing in the game? He's making them at practice. What is his approach when he goes out there? The big thing I do when I coach my guys, I don't baby them. So, a lot of guys take it easy on the kicker because they know it's such a mental game. I'm going to be tougher on the kicker or just as tough on the kicker as I am with my other players. So I coach them hard at practice. That way when they get in the game, they understand, if they mess up, it's not as hard. Because if you never yelled at that kid or got onto him at practice and he screws up in the game and then you're on his butt, he's not going to know how to take that. It's going to rattle him, essentially. So don't baby the kicker. Coach him hard. Don't kill his confidence, but you still have to coach him hard when he makes a mistake. The big thing, a lot of head coaches don't like they do kicking at the beginning of practice. You'll have your 10-minute field goal period, and then you'll do, some guys do 10 minutes of special teams right at the beginning of the practice, and that's it for the whole day. I think it's important during your team periods, whether it's offensive team or offensive O versus D, you need to have kicking scripted during practice. So if you have kicking on the practice script, so if your OC is going through his plays at practice and he runs 4 plays and it says kick, that allows the kicker to get on the sideline, come from the sideline, get in a game situation where he's actually coming out and kicking. Give him a rush too. Sometimes it's important in the game, you might make a late decision on when to kick, so it's important to have him ready at all times. So sometimes at practice, we'll do O&D, and sometimes we'll just call out field goal. He has time to get out there and get set, his normal routine, but sometimes we'll give him a play clock. We'll start at 12 seconds. That's going to force him to come out faster and get the kickoff quicker. That's all getting him mentally prepared for game situations. I think it's important that you don't just do your 10-minute field goal period at the beginning of practice. If you do your 10-minute field goal period at the beginning of practice, he's just standing out there waiting for the other kid to kick, and then he hops in. It's important to have him come from the sideline, come on, get a realistic situation of what's going on. Field goal reps during team periods are crucial. Those are your game-like reps. That's going to get him mentally prepared when he steps on the field during a game on Friday night or Saturday. That's going to get him ready because he's already been in that situation before. you want to put pressure on the kicker at practice, whether it be, like I said, using the play clock to get him out there early to throw off his rhythm so he has to get set quicker. We practice that at camps I do. But also, putting some kind of incentive on him. If he makes the kick, the team doesn't have to run at the end of practice or something like that. I think that's important to build his confidence, but also allow him to experience a pressure situation. A big thing a lot of people do, you need to have your kickers included as much as possible. They already kind of feel like, they're the outcasts of the team, or the team doesn't respect them as much. So the more you get them together with the team, the better they're going to build relationships with the other players. So during workouts, we have our guys, they're going to work out with the team. They're not going to do anything special. What they'll do the whole workout that the team's going to do. And then after they do the whole workout, they're going to do extra stuff such as band training, hip training, speed training. And at practice, I'm a quarterback coach. So we're a small school. I've only got 3 quarterbacks typically. During my QB indie period, I'll usually get the kickers. They'll come hold dummies or be pass rushers or whatever we need to do. So I think getting them involved in more than one way is huge. For individual kicks for the kickers, you have to emphasize every kick should be the same, whether it's a 20-yard extra point or it's a 50-yard field goal. Nothing should change in your form. If your form changes, it's going to screw up your kick. Like I said, when guys try to overkick, that jab step tends to get long. That's when they get an inconsistent ball. The kick does not change, but the trajectory does. What you got, Coach?
How would you correct a kicker that's not consistently kicking, for example, deep left, and he pushes the ball to the middle?
So on kickoff, you were going to want him to – his approach doesn't need to be centered. So if you're kicking deep left and he's lining up center, obviously that's a quick fix. So he needs to take his steps angled to where he's kicking. And also you got to work on – I think the big thing is the hips. So if you're kicking deep left and it's a right-footed kicker, that should be natural for him to finish that way. So he needs to get his hips to his target, and that's going to allow him to finish. And same thing, if he's kicking deep right, his steps doesn't need to be coming straight back like he's kicking deep middle. They need to be coming off at an angle. And that's the same with field goal. If we're on a right hash and he's kicking left, his steps need to be at an angle. Nothing changes with the steps, just the angle of the steps change, because that's going to throw off his rhythm. So you want to emphasize him getting his hips to his target and also stepping at the angle that he needs to go to. Because if he's stepping down the middle and then he's trying to aim right, it's going to cause him to take extra choppy steps or throw his hips off and everything like that. So on the kicks, like I said, mental thing is it's hard to do as a kicker myself. It was hard for me to say, if I'm kicking an extra point, I'm not thinking about it. If I'm kicking a 55-yard field goal, then I'm like, wow, I got to kick crap out the ball. But the better I got was when I quit worrying about the distance of the kick and just worried about my form and doing my job. That's when I got more consistent on those longer kicks. Practice mentality, when you have your guys going through their drills and they're kicking, or if you finish your special teams period and they're kind of sitting on the sideline, limit their reps. Do not allow them to overkick during practice. They need to kick with a purpose. So what I say is, if they're out there kicking by themselves and they're doing their full-on approach, not their drills, every rep should be a championship rep. So if I get those guys in the mental training, like, I don't have another kick after this, this is for the game winner, or I'm putting some kind of emphasis on that rep, it's going to allow them to take that rep more seriously and focus more. And the more they focus and practice, the better they're going to be in the game when they go out there, because they've already worked on mentally preparing themselves for the moment. I had to talk with my guy this year. We struggled on field goals early in the season, a couple scrimmages we had, because he wasn't trusting our snapper and holder, because new snapper, new holder. I told him to control what you can control. If he's worried about the snapper, the hold mentally, it's not going to have his confidence up. He's going to be worried about that. It's going to throw off that rhythm where he might pause on his jab step. He just needs to do his job. If they mess up the snap and the hold, that's on them. Tell him you can't get on him for that. Just tell him to go out there and do his job. And his job when he steps on the field is to score points. You got to make sure he needs to understand your job is to score points, not worry about anything else. Lastly, as I stated earlier, every time he goes out to kickoff, field goal, it doesn't matter what the situation is, he has to have a target. And that's one thing I found the guys don't like to do. They just go out there, they'll just say, I'm kicking down the middle. But if you have a target that you are finishing to, like in the video I showed with the field goal post, we pick a spot on the tree in the background. Literally a tree limb. Because if I aim small, I can miss small. If I'm aiming just in the vicinity of the uprights in the middle, if I miss in the middle, it's going to go off to the right or left. But if I'm aiming at that small point down the middle of the target, if I miss, I'm still in the field goal post. And that allows them to give something to finish their hips and their body to. I think that's a huge thing that you have to ask those guys repeatedly. So I ask my guys once a day, what are you aiming at? And if they can't give me an answer right up like that, I know they're not aiming at anything. They're just kicking. And that goes back to having a good mentality when you kick. If you have a purpose behind your kicking, you'll be able to find a target, and that's going to develop the mental preparation that you need for when you get in the game. And you know, okay, I got to find my target, and they go through that same repetition all day. But it starts at practice. So I think a big thing with if you're a head coach, you have to script kicking during practice. If you're not a head coach, if you want your guy to be ready in the game, you got to get him reps in practice, not just 5 minutes at the beginning of practice, and that's it. So give him game-like reps in practice every day. This is my contact info. If you need anything from me, if you need this presentation, you need me to look at some film of your kicker, I can give you some advice. I can break it down for you. Or if you need anything else from me, my phone number's on there, email. I'm really active on Twitter. Just hit me up, and I'll work with you. I'm trying to help people improve the kicking game all around because I think it's one of the most overlooked parts of our game. And you know, we get frustrated when our guys missing the game, but we're not ripping them in practice like we should. So.
Absolutely. I had that conversation a couple of times with some special teams guys, man. We can't get mad at certain blunders that go on in special teams if we're not repping it. So here's a question for you that just came in, Coach. How do you go about where to place the ball on kickoffs, meaning left hash or middle, meaning left hash or left middle or anything of that matter?
I think it's going to depend on your guy a lot. So if you got a guy that can really place it where you want to, you can put it where you want. Our kid, like I said, he was putting it in the end zone consistently. So we just we only had one game this year. We were actually doing a sky kick because we actually pinned him inside the 20 a couple times. It's just going to depend on your kid, and you got to understand he's not. If you tell him to kick it on the numbers, it's hard for a high school kicker, especially, to put it in that exact spot every single time. So I think it's going to be more. That's going to get more into your game planning. You know, if you see the return teams doing. If they're always setting up a right return, kick it to the left and throw them off. But I would encourage you, whatever you decide to do that week. So if you go to practice on Monday or Tuesday for college guys, if you know you're kicking deep right all week, they need to start practicing that on Monday because if you throw it on them on Wednesday, it's not going to be consistent.
That's a good point. Anybody else? Any other questions? Obviously, Coach put up his contact information. Certainly utilize it. Do you have any tips for punters?
Yeah, hit me up on Twitter. I got some stuff for punters. I can't cover all that in an hour, so I just want speaking.
There you go.
Yeah, I got some stuff for punters if you need it. Just hit me up on Twitter. I'll be glad to talk with you.
Good stuff. Coach, I appreciate you jumping on, man. And obviously, this one, will be available on the drive if you guys want to watch it back. And obviously, Coach supplied his contact information. So utilize it during this time before we get back active. Whenever that may be. People have less time in their hands, so utilize the time now while we do have that time. Continue to get better, man, and it'll be super beneficial to all of us and our kids and our programs. So I think the coach has been doing a great job at that. And, shout out to everybody. So, Coach, once again, man, thanks for your time this morning or this afternoon.
Appreciate you having me on. Like I said, if anybody needs anything, just hit me up on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter, so.